Okay, let's take off. Well, from this part of the world, it's good afternoon. We are talking to you from Malta, which is in the central Mediterranean. So the time now is 15:38. So it's middle of the afternoon. Welcome to all those that are following us on this very important milestone in the work that we are doing for the sake of climate-friendly travel. My name is Leslie Vella. I am the Deputy CEO at the Malta Tourism Authority. I am also the Chief Officer responsible for strategic development. And together with Jeffrey Lippman and our team, I am also Chair of SUNx Malta. And in these few minutes of introduction, apart from bidding you welcome and introducing an hour of presentations, speeches, and announcements, please allow me to take a couple of minutes to describe the voyage which Jeffrey and I started together a few years ago, which has culminated in what we are about to present and announce today. I have known Jeffrey Lippman for a very long time. I don't know whether that is good news or bad news, but I met Jeffrey first time in the early 1990s when he was already fighting and taking stands in favor of making tourism's voice heard and tourism's voice respected. Eventually, I also crossed paths with him through the World Tourism Organization when he was Assistant Secretary General. And we worked together, particularly during the pre-COVID crisis and pandemics, such as SARS and bird flu. And after then, a few years of not seeing Jeffrey, we found each other again at the World Travel Market in 2018, and we started this discussion about climate change, global warming, and climate-friendly travel. And Jeffrey, who was following the pioneering footsteps of a man we've all heard about, the great Maurice Strong. In fact, the sun in our SUNx means strong universal network in memory of Maurice Strong, and all that he started in terms of fighting for preserving the planet and taking care of the planet's atmosphere to avoid climate change and to reduce the risks of climate change. The X in SUNx reflects the existential crisis that climate change will bring upon the planet. And Jeffrey and I met at World Travel Market in London towards the end of 4 solid days of meeting, and we started discussing these concepts. We started discussing the work that needed to be done. And this culminated in 2019 through the setting up of SUNx Malta, and which Malta is contributing financially to, which Malta is supporting logistically and financially. And I will explain why. I will explain why this is taking place. Malta is a very small country. We are one of the smallest territories on the planet, 122 square miles, 300 square kilometers. Just to give you an idea of scale, our airport runway is 20% the length of the country. So we are very small in the global scheme of things. But being a sovereign state, being a country, rather than just an appendage of a larger country, gives us a voice on the international stage, a voice which we have always put to good use. And just to give you 2 examples, which are similar to what we are attempting to do these days, just to give you a couple of examples. In the 1960s and 1967, Malta, as a very new member of the United Nations organization, was the country who or which proposed what was to become the Convention for the International Law of the Sea. So one of the tiniest countries on the planet going to the United Nations and presenting the concept of the sea as the common heritage of mankind, rather than the sea as a mere territorial extension of land masses. It took about 20 years of debate, but eventually this became the Convention of the International Law of the Sea, which all started through Malta's efforts, because Malta, although small in size, never was shy to go to world bodies such as the UN to propose measures, discussions of global significance. More recently, but also quite some distance in time now, in 1988, Malta was the country that, no, in 1982, Malta was the country that went to the United Nations General Assembly around about this time of the year. We know that every year around about September, the UN General Assembly brings together the leaders of all the countries of the world. And it was the country that proposed to the United Nations to give more attention to the urgent need to conserve climate in the interests of mankind by protecting it against negative man-made changes. I'm quoting the precise message that Malta gave to the UN, and it was the step proposed by Malta that eventually led to the setting up of the newly conceived IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. So we have this good track record with the Law of the Sea and with being the first country to take climate change discussion to the UN. And it was on the basis of these two huge steps that, following our discussions with Jeffrey, we realized that we also have another mission at this point in time. As a country which is an archipelago, as a country which is in a part of the world which stands to be very highly affected through climate change. What happened in Libya 2 weeks ago is a mere 300 kilometers from us, literally down the road from us. So we thought that a third logical step at an age where global tourism has become a very important means of trade and services and human understanding, and at a time when small countries particularly are very vulnerable to the possibilities arising from global warming brought about by climate change, we felt that we should take a third step and become active in the quest for climate-friendly travel. A lot of small economies are very dependent on tourism, and tourism is very dependent on a stable climatic system. So what we are about to go through this afternoon, the next 55 minutes or so, is that we will show the fruits of what we have been working with, thanks to people like Jeffrey, thanks to people like Hans, who is also around the table, Hans Friedrich, people like Ollie, based in the UK, and other friends of ours worldwide, our colleagues at the Institute of Tourism Studies, who are at the top of the table and will be addressing us later on this afternoon, with whom we have managed to create this very innovative and unique diploma, the graduates of which we shall be discussing and celebrating in a few minutes' time. I would also like to thank my Chief Executive, Carlo Micallef, who will also be addressing you, for his continuous support of our efforts in this field. It shows that even a small country like Malta can take steps, altruistic steps, to help its neighbors and to help other countries on the world stage. And we hope that on the basis of what we are announcing and creating today, we'll be able to achieve even more results in the coming months and years. I think that's enough by way of introduction. I thank you all for listening, and at this stage, I would like to pass on to a recorded message which our Minister for Tourism, the Honourable Clayton Bartolo, recorded for us. Minister Bartolo originally intended to be here with us to deliver the message in person, but he is actually today in Saudi Arabia with the UNWTO to celebrate World Tourism Day in Saudi Arabia. So thank you very much for listening, and may I ask our IT Senior Manager Godwin to give us the Minister's playback. Thank you.
Good afternoon and welcome to our gathering. It gives me great personal pleasure, as well as on behalf of the government of Malta, to announce today the launch of 50 climate-friendly travel chapters in the world's poorest countries. It is a fulfillment of an important promise in our 2030 tourism strategy to make Malta a global center of climate-friendly travel, and most especially to provide support to those countries that are amongst the most exposed to the harsh impacts of extreme climate change, did the least to cause it, and who have tourism as a vital part of their development future. We from Malta, with a lengthy 8-year tradition of running a developed tourism industry, have an obligation to extend our support and experience to your countries. I am even more pleased that this is an initiative that involves young graduates from our very own Institute for Tourism Studies, which has partnered with SUNx Malta to develop the world's first climate-friendly travel postgraduate diploma. Congratulations to my friend Pierre Fenech, CEO of the Institute, and his team for your vision in seeing the potential. Earlier this year, I had the privilege of presenting certificates to this year's ITS graduates. And I can tell you that there are very few things that are more rewarding than seeing their commitment and enthusiasm for helping to craft a better and more sustainable world. By launching these least developed country chapters from Malta, we are sending a message that even the smallest EU state is ready to reach out beyond its borders to bring our tourism experience and expertise to so many deserving countries. And above all, to do this in the context of our own evolving 2030 tourism strategy that we are now starting to implement across the country. Our chapter leaders in the different countries will work to create national climate-friendly travel ecosystems in their own individual states. This will include recruiting like-minded young people to support climate resilience and greenhouse gas reduction, and encouraging travel companies to sign on to our climate-friendly travel registry and produce their own climate action plans. Today, we are sending a powerful message of committed action now to shape a long-term clean and green tourism future for our children and grandchildren. In effect, we are today mirroring what we are doing here in Malta to protect our own tourism patrimony and shift to renewable energy and low carbon mobility to help meet our EU Green Deal obligations. I am also delighted to announce that after our scholarships to the least developed countries last year, we are now awarding a further batch of scholarships to the 39 small island developing states, commencing this coming academic year. And we are obviously looking forward to continue to extend the chapter base further this time next year in 2024. In this way, we will give a real support to the tourism sector in the countries needing it the most and fulfill our own strategic vision as a global leader in climate-friendly travel. I want to close by reiterating the steadfast support of the government of Malta for the new chapters and the inspiring work that SUNx Malta is doing to make our small island state the global center of climate-friendly travel. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister, and thank you for a very clear message of commitment and resolve and linking what we have been doing in SUNx with the strategic objectives forthcoming from our Malta Tourism Strategy. It is now my pleasure and honor to pass on the microphone to my friend and colleague and boss, Carlo Micallef, my CEO, who will address us over the next few minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie, dear friend. We're like brothers here at MTA, 26 years together every day, nearly every day. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and good day to you all. Before I became CEO of the Malta Tourism Authority, I led the marketing team of the organization for many years. There I learned early on that if you do not have a great product to support the marketing, the promise we make, it does not matter how much you promote it, you will really not get anywhere with consumers who are much more experienced and informed than ever before. Expectations have risen. Happily, we have a great tourism product in Malta, so I had a relatively easy job to keep Malta's promise. But we also know full well that the future is going to be very different because of the climate change and the extreme weather patterns it is bringing with it. And if you do not believe me, as already mentioned by Leslie also, just ask our neighbors in Greece, Libya, and also nearby Sicily, bettered by climate-induced record heat, rainfall, and hailstorms, as recently as the past 3 weeks. This is why we have Malta 2030 tourism strategy to prepare the country for this harsh new world, and the Tourism Observatory to help manage the implementation. But for the world's poorest countries, most do not have this kind of support system, even though they often have incredible tourism products. This is why we at the Malta Tourism Authority are so pleased and proud to be partnered with SUNx Malta in helping out to put something very practical in place with the chapters we are launching today in the 50 least developed countries in the world. We have already contributed some of our Maltese optimistic vision through the diploma course that the chapter leaders have all gained from last year, where they have acquired a strong grounding in climate change impacts on tourism and how to be resilient in response, even while reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And now, we will share even more of our development and marketing expertise as we help them build climate-friendly travel communities in their own countries. Learning how to grow tourism, strengthen the product, provide the essential infrastructure and service support, and then promote it to a world that is more and more embracing clean and green as a lifestyle choice. At MTA, we value what we are creating with SUNx Malta, and we stand full square with you as you embark on this exciting new chapter to help ensure that those who are least responsible for creating the climate crisis are well prepared to respond to it through strong climate-friendly products and promotion. Finally, let me say that my longtime friend and colleague Leslie Vella, the lead architect of our 2030 strategy, is driving this initiative, gives me a real confidence that will make a huge difference to the future of tourism prospects of so many diverse and deserving countries. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlo Micallef, for your nice speech. And although I have mentioned Jeffrey's name for a very long time, on numerous occasions, even this afternoon, I think that one must also constantly bear in mind and remember and appreciate that the brain behind all of this that we are doing is Jeffrey. Jeffrey, who no wall will stop, no no will be taken for a no. Jeffrey, who comes with a very strong vision, knows what he wants, and will go around anything placed in his way to achieve it. And it is with the support of people like Carlo that myself, convinced as I am of Jeffrey's vision, will ensure that this man's dream of changing things single-handedly on a global level will be achieved. So we are all here to help him. It is always a privilege to work with people who on their own have ideas aimed at changing the way a whole world operates. And with the MTA's support and Jeffrey's guidance, I'm sure that we will get there. So thank you, Carlo, once again.
Thank you.
And on behalf of us all, thank you, Jeffrey, for your vision and your leadership. Thank you. Reference has already been made by all the speakers so far to the great input by Malta's Institute for Tourism Studies, who is represented today by Glenn Farrugia and by Simon Caruana. The ITS was very receptive to the ideas and ideals of SUNx Malta from the very first time we met them, and then within the shortest time possible, managed to convert dreams and ideas into the diploma course, which we have referred to and whose graduates are with us today. In the absence of Pierre Fenech, who is also abroad on official business, I would like now to ask the Institute of Tourism Studies Malta Director of Studies, Glenn Farrugia, to say a few words to this gathering. Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you also for the invitation. Colleagues, audience from all over the globe. It is with immense pride, I would say, and the sense of profound responsibility that I am here today, together with you, dear colleagues, to launch a significant initiative that epitomizes our commitment to education and sustainability, particularly as the Institute of Tourism Studies and its strategy. Today, all of us are proud to introduce these 50 scholarships and the chapters, but one of the most important components is our pioneering course, the Diploma in Climate Friendly Travel. This venture, and as also Leslie said, has been an illuminating beacon in the academic realm since its inception in 2020. You remember, Jeffrey. However, our journey was not without its trials. Just a few weeks after the programs initiated, or the work, you remember that the world was shaken by the onset of COVID-19 pandemic. And I must say that, of course, Malta was not spared. And like the rest of the world, we faced uncertainties and daunting challenges, asking ourselves whether we should continue with this endeavor, given that our resources had perhaps to go towards other places. Yet, in these trying times, the foresight and structure of the way we have developed the program emerged as one of the strongest. Designed to be fully online, this enabled the course not only to persist, but to thrive. It allowed us to connect, it allowed us to educate and inspire a diverse cohort of students from around the globe. In times of isolation, we've built bridges of knowledge and collaboration. As we navigate the complexities of our modern world, the Institute of Tourism Studies firmly believes that our responsibility extends beyond the traditional realms of academia. This course, in fact, which we're doing in collaboration with SUNx and with full support of the Maltese government and the Malta Tourism Authority, represents one of our most significant contributions to corporate social responsibility. To propagate best practices in tourism sustainability is not just an academic pursuit, but it's a moral imperative. It's crucial to highlight that our program, the program reach, while it is global, holds a special place for the least developed countries, LDCs. The globe's disparities shouldn't dictate who gets access to knowledge and academia, especially when it comes to sustainability. We've had the honor of working with renowned academics in the field of tourism and sustainability through SUNx. So thank you for that, Jeffrey. Together, we've embarked on a mission to share wisdom and practices that can reshape industries and livelihoods. The diploma in climate friendly travel is the first of its kind. So whoever did this and whoever will be doing this, there's no other program like this worldwide. So we boast about this very much. A course that seamlessly integrates rigorous academic theory with operational realism. It equips its students with not just knowledge, but the tools to affect tangible change in the world. Let these 50 scholarships be the testament to our commitment, not just to education, but to a future where travel respects, nourishes, and harmonizes with our planet. We invite you to join us to this journey to be the change makers, the visionaries, the stewards, the chapters of a sustainable tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Your very enlightening words, and it's great, again, another first for a country like Malta to be the only country and the only educational institute specializing in tourism to be offering a specialized but important and topical diploma such as the one that we are celebrating today. It's a great achievement, and we're only here in 2023 when I remember the first time we met not so long ago in 2020. COVID was just about to start, I think, and in spite of the global knock that COVID created and the advantages which technology gave us to be able to continue the course online, in a way it had its benefit, because when we were originally thinking about having a residential course for which one would have had to travel to Malta, the one advantage brought about by COVID was that, taking advantage of the technology, we could immediately extend to a global audience, and it opened up the number of students, it opened up our reach from a smaller one of people who would have had to come here for studying into a literally global one available through online teaching technologies. So thank you once again for the instrumental role in creating an innovative product and an innovative course available worldwide. SUNx Malta is not only about the educational aspect as we know it, but it also involves reaching out to the tourism community of businesses and organizations. It could be airlines, it could be accommodation establishments, it could be attractions, it could be travel agencies, it could be tour companies, the whole range of tourism service providers worldwide. And one of the major other objectives of SUNx Malta is to bring together all these different types of tourism service providers into a registry to be able to share, to be able to deposit their plans, their intentions, and their workings for the objective of reaching or approaching climate-friendly travel. And Dr. Hans Friedrich, who is with us today, originally a Dutchman, but now a permanent resident of Malta's second island of Gozo, is with us here, and I would like to kindly ask him to address us, to tell us about the registry and his work as a registrar. Over to you, Hans.
Thank you, Len. And dear friends at MTA, Malta Tourism Authority, Institute of Tourism Studies, colleagues and ladies and gentlemen, anywhere in the world. I'm the SUNx Malta registrar, and it's a great pleasure to tell you a bit more about this registry, the SUNx Malta Climate Friendly Travel Registry. The registry really is the gateway into the climate friendly travel community. And by listing a company on the registry, they agree with the principles of climate friendly travel. This implies management supports low carbon tourism that is nature friendly and helping to keep our planet's warming below the 1.5 degrees. Once the company is registered, they'll receive a climate friendly travel badge, which they can use for publicity and recognition. And after registration, we will develop a relationship with the listed company. When we launched the registry a couple of years ago, in partnership with MTA and with support from the World Travel and Tourism Council and the UN Convention on Climate Change, we thought we would enlist some of the large global hotel chains and cruise liners. But our experience has been quite different. It turns out our focus is on family-owned, private, smaller enterprises. And we found that our support is most wanted in the poorer countries of the world, especially in the global south. And that is why we've made a recent pledge to focus on the least developed countries. And we are invited more and more hotels, resorts, tour operators from countries in Africa and Asia. The launch of the 50 chapters today is part of this global drive. Yet, although we are currently focusing our efforts on the least developed countries and small island states, we are creating a global community. And we have registrations from everywhere in the world, including Malta. I'm very pleased to stress we have 2 small hotels in Valletta, an adventure company and a think tank in Gozo, and a Maltese marine experience listed on the registry. And we are extremely proud that the Malta Tourism Authority is the first government tourism agency on the registry. I expect that after the launch today, we will get more interests from hotels and resorts in Malta and Gozo. The registry is a website and it has a map of all the listed companies. At present, we have some 300 entries on the map and we are growing steadily. For example, a few months ago, we received more than 50 registrations of eco hotels from a company Ecoplore in India. And I was talking with Cresta Hotels in Zimbabwe last week about listing all their hotels in Southern Africa individually. We have all the Azalai hotels in West Africa on the map and a complete Cayuga collection in Central America. I expect the launch of the national chapters today will markedly accelerate this expansion, because one of the specific tasks of the chapter leaders will be to reach out to hospitality enterprises in their country and invite them to register. This type of contact at local level and communication in their national language will create a swell of interest, and I'm looking forward to accept tens, if not hundreds of new registrations in the months to come. Once a company joins us and registers its operations, we ask them to enter their climate action plan online. If the company does not have a serious plan for sustainability and climate action, we will help them to create such a plan. Our support team in Toronto, Canada, has developed guidance to help tourism enterprises, and we also have a wealth of curated information on the registry website that we've collected during the past few years. In this electronic toolbox, listed companies can find strategic information about global, regional, or national plans and programs. They can access innovations from other companies around the world. They can listen to videos and presentations about climate action and sustainability, and they can search for technical support from consultants and strategic partners. These so-called SDG 17 partners can provide technical advice on a range of topics, from waste management to energy conservation, from planning walking trails to developing virtual reality experiences. We have agreements with them to provide initial free support to companies on the registry, but there may be financial implications for more in-depth cooperation. We also provide opportunities to share information, and we have discovered that many hotels already have activities to reduce their carbon footprint and to support conservation activities and community action. Small hotels are often working closely with their local communities, and we have exciting examples of joint vegetable production, renewable energy sharing, glass waste collection, and manufacturing of handicrafts, and more. Water consumption is a key challenge, especially in coastal areas, and there are some great examples on the registry of water conservation in registered enterprises. I already mentioned that the registry calls for companies to file these plans and reports. And when a company has proved that it is serious and that it has a plan of action, we will provide another badge that illustrates these extra efforts. Visitors to the registry website will be able to access this information by clicking on the relevant point on the map. SUNx Malta does not verify the plans are of a certain standard, and we make it very clear to individual travelers that they will have to make up their own mind about the level of efforts that a hotel of a tour operator has made. There are many other ways in which we will provide channels for communication and publicity of these plans and actions. We've started a series of 2 weekly podcasts to share information. We include interviews with general managers, managing directors, or founders of listed companies on our bulletin. Our monthly bulletin exists. We have an active presence on social media like Facebook, Instagram, X, and we manage a SUNx Malta institutional page and a Climate Friendly Travel group on LinkedIn. The SUNx page has now 1,100 followers, and the LinkedIn group has more than 1,200 members. This is where we regularly share information from SUNx Malta and from registered companies. In addition, we have links with partners that work in the media and publicity, including the World Tourism Network and the Global Tourism Blog. Finally, I must mention that the CFD Registry is linked to the United Nations Global Climate Action Portal, as SUNx Malta is recognized as a cooperative initiative. The GCAP is an online platform where actors from around the globe, countries, regions, cities, companies, investors, and other organizations display their commitments to act on climate change. The information from our registry is uploaded to the UN portal whenever they review their database. To conclude, the registry really is the backbone of the SUNx Malta program and its activities. Registered companies are key to the development of the national chapters, and the chapters will generate more listed companies. A registry with more members will become more influential and better known, and that will in turn attract new members. I believe our aim for 2030 to have 10,000 registered companies globally is actually a realistic target. And I look forward to working with our key partners in Malta to make sure this includes a strong local contingent in Malta and Gozo. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hans. I'm also very pleased to see that according to the program, Hans was meant to finish his presentation at 16:15, and it is 16:15, so we are perfectly on time. True. 2 points that come out from 2 very important points from Hans's presentation. The first is that we started with a very small base, but now that we have the chapters, the opportunity to grow exponentially really exists, and with the help of these 50 chapters and the people who are now being appointed to spread the word in their different countries, the likelihood of reaching Hans's target, Hans's objective, is definitely reachable. The other very important point, and I say this from the perspective of addressing countries which are either small, people who are coming from countries which are either small physically or countries which are small in terms of their presence on the global stage, is this very important shift which we at SUNx undertook. Originally, when we were still at planning stage, the objective was to go to talk to the advanced countries, to go to talk to the established mega companies, etc. But we realized, A, that it is not easy to go and talk to these companies, and B, that there is a very huge spread of smaller organizations, businesses, in a wider range of countries, which actually needed more help, which needed a voice, and which needed to band together. And in a case like this, I think our small presence within the global scale, individually and collectively, is something that works to our advantage. In Malta, we have a saying, which in the Maltese language goes something like, "L'essenza il-fnixken iż-żgħar," which loosely translated means that the best fragrances come in very tiny bottles. And that's what we all are. So it's not the 1 liter bottles of perfumes and fragrances, which are the best, but the tiniest ones, which contain a few grams. And this is what we all are. We are all precious little bottles of highly precious fragrance. And this is the secret of our success and what should keep us going. So thank you for listening to me through this little aside, which I couldn't help, but made inspired by what Hans told us. As we approach the last few minutes, we now move from Malta to Zimbabwe. It's quite a distance away, but interestingly enough, we are in the same time zone, and it's almost a straight line between north of the equator and south of the equator, between Malta and Zimbabwe. And I would like to ask Maud Masiyiwa to present her thoughts and her presentation. Over to you, Maud.
Greetings, I am Maud Masiyiwa, and I'm the coordinator for SUNx Malta's CFT Global Chapters that we're launching here today on World Tourism Day. I'm originally from Zimbabwe. It is a landlocked country in Southern Africa, but I currently live between Southern Africa and North America. I'm delighted to be a part of this groundbreaking initiative by SUNx Malta because I believe that the tourism industry has to take a bold step now. These chapters that we're building are an opportunity for the industry professionals to engage and interact with the local community and the international stakeholders on an existential threat to mankind and the planet. We're taking education to action as our motto. We're capacity building, and we're employing locally based solutions. We're finding a voice for LDCs in the tourism industry over climate change. So I say, join us today on this new phase and help us bring about positive change over this issue. Thank you very much. Have a lovely day.
Thank you, Maud. Short and sweet and powerful message and invitation, which I think is something that we ought to heed and follow up on. Today is the start of something new, not the end of a process. And this is what we should keep in mind, to keep the momentum, to keep the enthusiasm, and to convert what we have learned into something that individually might look very small, but when accumulated as a group effort, can really start to make a change. As we approach the conclusion, I now pass on the baton to the man himself, Jeffrey Lippman, Professor Jeffrey Lippman, a man with whom I have learned to work and learned to learn, a man who, as I said, is defeated by no barrier, because he knows what his vision is and he wants to see things done. And I think that it is very fitting that after an hour of short speeches and presentations, we ask him to take the floor to address us with his concluding remarks and his vision for the years ahead. Over to you, Jeffrey.
Thank you very much, Leslie, and I will be brief in concluding our session today. First, I want to say thanks to the vision and the generosity of Malta, particularly MTA, and epitomized by my friend and comrade in arms, Leslie Vella. We've set in motion an ambitious initiative to make Malta a global center of climate-friendly travel. That is, Paris 1.5 oriented and SDG linked. And as it's noted specifically in Malta's 2030 tourism strategy, as Minister Bartolo stated in his opening remarks. It was great to listen to the Minister and to you, Carlo, as you launched our 50 climate-friendly travel chapters in the world's poorest countries, and to know that we're poised to make a real difference on the ground, as Maud says, moving from education, which we built with our friends at ITS, to action, which we're going to deliver through our graduate students. It was great to hear Glenn talk about our world's first postgraduate climate-friendly travel diploma with ITS and the 100+ students we are training together already, helping to make a difference in those very same countries. And I want to acknowledge also today our Malta chapter leaders, Christopher, who is here with us, and Ilona, who is online, both local graduates through the ITS system. It was also great to listen to Hans explain the climate-friendly travel registry, which he has masterminded single-handedly from his base in Gozo, as he said, to already include some 300 strongly supporting travel companies, predominantly from those countries most exposed to the climate crisis. Nearly all small and medium enterprises who need all the help that we intend to give them. And last but not least, it was great to hear more on our plans to turn the new LDC chapters into what we call a Plan B network. By Plan B, what we're saying is every tourism administration in the world has a Plan A. And that Plan A does not include adaptation to the climate crisis. It may reference it, but if you're living in Libya today, or you're living in Greece, or you're living in Maui, your entire tourism framework has been changed overnight. And what we do know is it's not going to get better. This is the best summer that we're ever going to have, because everyone from here on in is going to get more challenging. And it seems like only yesterday when Leslie and I started with what we called a plan for our kids to build a climate-friendly travel framework for communities, companies, and consumers. And we launched then this 2030 vision centered around the 100,000 strong climate champions. It's a vision which was delivered to me by Maurice Strong, who had this challenge in his mind 50 years ago. And we are fulfilling that vision here with SUNx Malta. Along the way, we pivoted to the poorest, and this is where our chapters will operate, helping to create hope and better livelihoods through climate-friendly travel for those countries. And as the Minister said, did the least to create the climate crisis. We will be there with you, fighting for tourism climate justice. And I want to close by thanking all of our partners here in Malta who are taking this journey and who are in this room with us, with our small SUNx Malta team, to help build a better world for our kids. Without you, Carlo, without you, Leslie, the 50 chapters we are launching today simply could not have happened. Without you, there would be no coherent, sustained tourism response in this critical area. We're truly grateful, and at SUNx Malta, we stand ready to build on the global tourism climate response network we've initiated here today. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey, for your beautiful words. I think that we have gone through the whole program for today. I would like to thank you for being with us for the past 60 minutes. As I said, this is more of a start rather than an end of a process. We have now spread our seeds and the seeds of our thinking and our philosophy in 50 different chapters. And let us work together to coordinate, to grow and increase the message so that what we have started a few years ago through a chance meeting at Work Travel Market continues to grow into a global effort aimed at making travel more climate friendly and ensuring that people continue to enjoy tourism without being blamed for contributing to the worsening of the climate crisis. Thank you for being with us. And on behalf of all my colleagues around the table here, I bid you a good day and hope to be in touch in the coming months in other gatherings. In the meantime, keep working hard and take care of yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was great. Just want to remind everybody that the recording from tomorrow will be available on our website, institutetourism.com. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Reza.
Thanks,
you,
Reza.
Reza.
As
Thank you.
always.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Reza. One love from Jamaica.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for Afghanistan.
Rise high, Malta.
Thank you
One
from
love.
Nigeria.
Thank you so much. Thank you from Afghanistan. Thank you.
Thank you,
So much,
Mozambique.
everybody.
Thank you so much.
From so
Thank
many
you from Sri Lanka. We enjoyed a lot.
Thank you. And thank you, thousands of people watching on different platforms. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you from Nigeria. Bye.